Welcome to Rauta's Underground Trio episode. Once again, 3 albums from 3 different bands, and they are actually very different from one another this time. First, quickly going through them in alphabetical order, and then from worst to best according to my own opinion, and again, feel free to disagree. First we have Føsphene from United States, a new black metal band. Then we have Marrasmaa, and this is pure ambience in a way. Ambience and kantele, instrumental music, no vocals at all. And then we have something called progressive melodic death metal, Slow Fall, also from Finland. Now, I'm not gonna deny it. This time it was kind of hard to put them against one another because in a way there is no clear winner, and in a way there is, and at least I had to put them in the order I would least and mostly recommend it to you. But none of them are exactly my favorites. They are all quite different too, so there is that challenge. So whatever you do, it's up to you, but links are included in the description box. But I'll explain or describe them in the way I feel it's worst to best. So first we'll go to United States. This one has a quite interesting and beautiful cover image, but not very black metallic, I guess. And that goes with some of the previous works with this band. They have nice looking paintings, but they don't, at least to me, give any kind of a black metal vibe to it. So when you switch to the other side of the cover, suddenly it's purely black metal. Corpse paints and candles and all that black and white stuff. And for the CD, it's actually CDR. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, self-financed, which I guess is explained by the quality of music and also this band being very, very new. They were founded in 2024, and at least on this CD it says 2 members, but I think Metal Archive site has more than that. Now, this is a very basic demo level black metal release in a format of a full album. And I guess that it's because this band was founded in 2024 and suddenly a year later there is full album. So what happened to the phase where you actually demo ideas and you figure out which are the best ones? Well, once you skip that phase and instantaneously move on to doing a full album, this is unfortunately what you get. It's not like the songs are bad, but they are very mid and very forgettable. The production is quite lame in compared to a lot of bands doing albums these days. This could have been rather good back in the 90s when the demo level was more like hissing tapes and all that stuff, but now it's not really a great sounding thing. The vocals, pretty basic, you can get away with that, but it's not something you will praise. Now, what bothers me mostly is that this is more like the kind of run-of-the-mill kind of black metal, which is not exactly arrogant, it's not obnoxious, it's not wow, it's not, any kind of great, and it's just more like, yeah, you have some faster parts, you have some slower parts, nothing touched the extremities. There are no weird moments, there are no artsy-fartsy avant-garde moments. It's just the kind of hey, I need that budget black metal album from your shelf. This is what you get. They do have potential, obviously, but this is not something that makes waves in any kind of a point. And to insult to injury, they do have Judas Iscariot cover as the ending track right here. And guess what? That is clearly the best song on this album. So word to the wise, don't include cover songs of your own given styles unless you can beat it to it, because you will just pale in comparison. Then, quite different in terms of style, but totally different in terms of also in production, is Slow Fall's third album, Blood Eclipse. Pretty nice moody cover image here, and all, pro because of decent size of a label out of line. This band has been there for about 20 plus years and 3 albums in and all that stuff, so they're no newbies to the genre. But what so often happens with a lot of bands is that the third album is the hard one. And this goes like that. First you do the initial ideas, if you have figured out what you play, doesn't matter if it's death metal, heavy metal, power metal, thrash metal, doom metal, whatever, you get the idea. You do the ideas and then yeah, we nailed it, we made our first album after demo or EP or whatever, and then you move on to do the second one. You pretty much use the leftover tracks, maybe even pick up from where you left off with the first album, and you either make it a little bit better, or at least you have those leftover tracks and kind of do the same. And on the third album, you find yourself in a crossroads. Do we really want to do more and more of the same? Now, there are bands where they already stand at the crossroads with the second album, but third one is, at least among journalists, often said to be the hard one, because that's where you figure out whether you want to just kind of reimagine yourself. You want to question your choices. Do we want to go heavier? Do we going to go more atmospheric, or whatever it is? I'll give a couple of examples because this is a Finnish band from Finland. Think about Sentence. They made 2 death metal bands and then they started doing Amok, which was quite something different. Good, but different. Amorph is another one. First proper death metal, then a little bit of melodic death metal with a little bit something, I wouldn't call it spicy, but different. And then it was moving on from the death metal territory. So they were definitely questioning whatever they were doing and changing their style, getting some new audience and of course losing some. And there are plenty of these examples in the world of metal. Now, Slowfall is basically doing the same here. They sound very pro, the production is very solid, and it's kind of surprising how good it is given that this album has different styles quite a bit. Too much for their own good. And that is, sure, certain songs sound like proper melodic, a little bit progressive melodic death metal. So the vocalist has to be good, and he is. He can do growling, he can do kind of a screaming, and he can do clean vocals. It's not about the vocals, it's more about the variety. Because it makes this album sound like it's a collection. There are parts where it kind of is melodic black metal even. And at some point it's almost kind of a deathcore, metalcore kind of a hybrid. And of course you have those melodic death metal parts. And then of course you have some kind of a ballad which feels a little bit misplaced. Because it's not like a bad song, but when you have this variety of ideas, it's more like what are you doing? Are you showcasing? Are you doing your CV? Are you like just listing the things down you can do and figuring out what should be the fourth one, which direction you should do? They probably should have included a doom song and a power metal song just in order to make it even more versatile. Now I'm a little bit sarcastic here. My point here is they have lost the ball. They don't know whether they are playing football, basketball, soccer, whatever. And that's where the momentum is lost. So while it's technically speaking a good album, as an album to be enjoyed, I don't really get that. If they want to be something like Next Insomnium or Omnium Gatherum or whatever from Finland, sounding kind of a Nordic and powerful and knowing what they are doing, they should retain the focus. But now they're a little bit lost in the woods, and as such, this is a little bit mid as an album. So not as focused as Føsphene, which is just boring, but these guys sound like pro, but they don't know how to make it, keep it consistent. Which leads us to the last band of the hour. This is a 2-man project, or I guess band, and this is coming from a small label known as Corvus. Pretty much the same as used to do vocals in Horna, in case you're wondering about the name. This is a simple digipack release, no lyrics whatsoever here, because there are no lyrics. I mean, there's just this information, very minimal in shape, pretty fitting for the music, because technically speaking, this is kind of a ambient with kantele. Kantele being very traditional Finnish string instrument, which has very beautiful sound, very folky too. You probably heard it in many metal albums, especially the kind of a Finnish ones who have decided to put a little bit folkier touch into it. Now, Discogs didn't say anything about the style, nor did Last.fm, so I was figuring out how others are describing this, because this is not their first album, and there should be some information, of which there was pretty much close to none. But Radio Music actually mentioned this as dark folk, which made me wonder, what the fuck is dark folk? Don't get me wrong, the kantele part is kind of a folky, because the instrument is known for traditional world music, ethnic music, folk music, whatever. But the rest of the stuff here is that ambient, and it's more on the background, which makes this whole album sound more like a background music. And that's not definitely, but automatically, that's not a negative statement, even though some artists feel like that when you call their music background music. What I'm saying here is this is kind of creating the ambience, which is actually quite nice, a little bit moody, but there's not much happening apart from kantele tracks because there are no vocals and there are no melodies, there are no rhythmic patterns and such. But what is the problem with this album that once you have heard a song, the rest, it's not going to change too much. I mean, the consistency, which I was, bitching about when it comes to Slowfall, not having it, is the forte on this album. But if you don't like even that one song, this album is not going to work for you. I like the mood here and I like the ambience, but maybe the Kantele one is even too dominating for its own good. These are, of course, matters of taste. But what I do like is that they are not trying to, do it diverse just for the sake of it. They keep it focused, and that's all the way through. So if it sounds like a little bit forgettable and, being too much on the background, it is what it is. But in a way, it's also very soothing. So maybe this is the kind of a summer night music which you just put on the background while you grab a beer and watch the sun go down and get a little bit romantic. I mean, it could work. So, this is my take on the albums. Obviously, like I said, feel free to disagree. Links are included in the description box, so whether you head for Bandcamp or other streaming services, do it, but just figure out which ones you want to like. Of course, I recommend you checking out everything here mentioned, at least 1 or 2 tracks, so you know what I'm talking about, and maybe you will find something interesting. But a word of warning, none of them are too good, so take my recommendation with a grain of salt, as always. Now off you go, and I hope you will find some enjoyable new music, whether it's to Rauta or other sources. See you with more videos coming your way. Take care.